So here is an easy cable and it's working over 2 stitches. So if you ever do a cable and you want it to match each other, just keep them in even sets. So like 2, 4, 6, 8 for the loop counts in order to make it work. So never do 7 or 9 or an odd number in order to do something like this. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go across and we're going to crisscross the loops, and then when we come across we don't crisscross in order to achieve this effect. So we have what you see as a crisscross and then regular knit stitch and then crisscross, regular knit stitch and crisscross, and because of the length of these loops you see that they just look absolutely amazing. So let's cover on how to do a cable. To do a cable you need to keep it in even numbers. So we want to make sure that we are going to keeping it even. So you got 2, 4, 6. So let's just do 6 is our magic number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice that I started here and then on the left side of your screen here this is where it's going into the yarn ball. So what we're going to do for the very first one is that we are going to knit stitch ourselves through the 6. So just taking the next one after the 6th one and just feeding it through the back. Now because I am now going in this direction, it's easier if the yarn is just in front of you and you're going to pull it into your project. So just taking the next loop that's available on the working strand, coming in to the next one, and you're just gonna continue just to knit stitch yourself across. The trick to doing the cable work is to make sure that you are keeping your stitches in line with each other after each of the rows, and we're gonna cover that as well. So I'm just knit stitching my way across. So you can do whole afghans and blankets like this really quite easily. So once you've got all the way across, just kind of pinch it down with your hands and just pull up on these loops. You're not gonna, when you pull up a loop, it's not gonna pull out a neighbor. So you see how this is kind of twisted? When you pull, just kind of just open it. The outsides will always look like it's leaning outward. Okay, so just pull and have these look at their absolute best when you're ready to go across. So you should technically have 6 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now what we're going to do is that we are going to do a crisscross in order to achieve it, and we only crisscross when we go in that direction. That's the only time we crisscross, and when we come back in the other direction we're gonna knit stitch regularly. So let's show you how to do a crisscross. So let's show you how to do the cabling crisscross. So it's gonna cable over, and the first one here is gonna be there and the second one is gonna be underneath like this. So you wanna take the first loop and without twisting it or making it look awkward, just grab it and the second one. So making sure that it's coming up without any weird twist to it, and just twist them over like this. So just cross them and it will look like a little bow tie. And I want you to just pinch in the middle. So you're going to take the first loop that's available to you on the working strand and come from the back side and put it through the first one, and noticing that I'm still pinching. And then I'm gonna take the next one and I'm gonna put it through the second one. And now that just crossed over. Okay, so you do that all the way across. So the next set of 2, just crisscross it. That the right is over top of the left, and you're going to pinch. It will look like a little bow tie. Just pinch it. Take the next loop available to you, pull it through the first one, and take the next loop and pull it through the second. And I would get in the habit that after you get that pulled through, just give it a good tug. Then you're going to come in and finally to your last 2. So the next one you're gonna cross them like that. Take your next loop available to you, feed it through, and your next loop after that, feed it through this one. So by pinching it together you can kind of make sure they stay separate. So lay it back down and just make sure you give it a good tug, and you can see that a crisscross is happening. So let's go back in the other direction. So we knit stitch regularly and it's already in the right sequence. So this one that's crossed over is now sitting where it should. So you take the next loop available to you, and now I just take the first one through, and because I'm going in this direction, just move this strand so it just feeds up into the project. Grab your next loop and the working strand and pull it through, and just keep doing that knit stitch all the way through. So you're only crisscrossing when you go in the one direction, which makes this quite fast. And once you get used to this, the more that you get in your hands down here, the easier and more stable it gets. So once you're across, just kind of pull it down and just yank up on your thing, on your loops. You should have a complete total of 6. If you have 7 or 5, you know you've dropped something. So now we're gonna crisscross once again. So just take the first one and cross it over the second, and it will look like a little bow tie. And take the very next loop available to you on the strand and put it through the first one. And I'd recommend just moving this over. You notice I do the first one before I move it. Just, it's a habit that I have. So you take the next loop available to you and put it through the second one. Now you can do this with variegated yarn as long as you understand the principle of just making sure you cross them. So take the next 2, cross the first one over the second. You get your little bow tie. And you take your next loop available to you and pull it through, and the next loop through the second one. Okay, so cross them first. See, if you tug up on these loops before you start going across, you can almost guarantee that when you grab them that they are not twisted for you, because you've already kind of taken care of that in advance. So once you go across, then just lie it down, tug on it. And now they're in the correct sequence, so you're just gonna take the next loop and just knit stitch yourself back. And because it's now coming in the other direction, just move that to the other side. And this is how you would do the cable work with easy knitting with Bernat Alize Blanket EZ yarn. And it's really it really is, it's exactly what it promises. It's really quite easy. And once you get into the habit of moving your hands into the motions that this product asks you to do, it gets really quite quick. So for tutorial reasons I'm just slowing down to keep my hands out of the way for you so that you can see, but it really turns out amazing. So you can see that there's groups, and so there's a group of 2, 2, and 2, and you can see that the cabling work is coming out between before your hands. So this is how you do the cables with easy knitting.